afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 49 of our MSME Masterclass. Today, we are pleased to welcome Sandeepan Reddy, Director of I&I Financial Services Private Limited. Since 2005, I&I Financial Services has been a leading wealth management firm dedicated to helping clients achieve financial freedom through strategic asset allocation and passive income generation. Under Sandeepan's leadership, I&I Financial Services is committed to integrity, long-term customer interests, and an intellectual edge in personal finance. The vision is to be the most trusted financial advisor, guiding individuals towards realizing their dreams and aspirations. I&I Financial Services believes that financial well-being is essential to one's overall well-being. Join us as Sandeepan shares his insights on financial planning and how it can help you achieve your financial, personal, and financial goals. We're thrilled to have Sandeepan with us today. Welcome, sir. Welcome on board.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. The topic for today, for our audience, it's raising funds through MSME IPOs. And my first question to you, sir, is about what are the key benefits of MSMEs in India to go public through an IPO?
See, if you see the last 30-40 years about how companies raise their funds, they already raise their funds through the debt funds. That's through banking or some other resources. And big companies get these funds easily. But what has happened over a period of so many years, the SMEs have stuck up with their financial cash flows to raise their funds. And banks have their limited capacity to extend funds to these SMEs. Sorry. So what has happened 2014-15, the government started a SME platform wherein a lot of SMEs can come into the market and get it. The benefit of raising this is, one is, if you know as a bookish value, equity as an ownership doesn't have to, it doesn't move into a liability space. So it is an asset class. So the company doesn't have to pay dividends or whatever it is or interest. The funds are used for the betterment of that, and it has a mindset of an owner to see that they can grow at a better space. So funds availability is the only major benefits where you can explore in this market to leverage your wealth, because over a period of time you have created wealth, and now you can pass that wealth to the stakeholders also. So the benefit is raising the funds in a rather than going to a debt components of banks or private finances or NBFCs.
Sir, I also have another question which is to do with the explanation of eligibility criteria when it comes to MSMEs to qualify for an IPO. Okay, could you explain to our attendees that part of it?
See, there is not much qualification criteria. There are only three things. One is, you should be an existing company for the last 3 years. And out of the 3 years, you should be profitable for at least 2 years. The recent circulars have been updated due to cash flows. Your cash flows has to be positive for the last 3 years. And the second criteria is your paid up capital. Post paid up capital of the IPO should be less than 25 crores. So it doesn't work on your turnover. It is on whatever the paid up capital should be less than 25 crores. These are the two basic criteria to be qualified for anything in SMEs IPO.
So this leads me to my next question, which is, what are the primary steps when one is entering the IPO scenario?
See, it is like building a company in a longer run. Most of the SMEs, or if you see small and medium sizes, they work on individual ownership. The owner is everything. But when you have to dilute your stake, so it requires around 2 years of time to build your processes, build your team, build your compliance, because it is not easy. If I am running a company for 20 years and then I want to make it more professional, then your mindset has to change. So it comes from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. And there you have to build a team. Your compliances are very, very important in whatever space you are in. So it requires around 18 months time period so that you get all your systems in place, your financial systems, your operational systems, your team building. And once you know your path is around 2 years down the line, then you can start from today, because it requires small steps to build on. So it requires around 18 months to build a good space to get yourself good valuation in the long run.
And so how does the SME exchange in India differ from the main stock exchanges, and what advantages does it offer to the smaller companies?
See, the main exchange where we say the main board, there the compliances are very strict, and for everything in this space there is always cost involved for everything. So the first benefit is cost involved for raising funds in SME is a little bit lower than the main board. The compliance is a little bit easier in the main board, in the SMEs rather than the main board. The third part is your lot sizes. You have lesser number of shareholders here. In the main board, you will have a number of shareholders. So if you see on 2-3 basis, the main board as compliances, then you have to ensure that there is liquidity in the market. There is no one to help, because sorry, if I am a shareholder, I want to exit, and if there are no buyers or sellers, then it becomes a challenge. So main board has to have liquidity. Whereas in SME space, you can create liquidity where there are market makers.
Correct, absolutely right. And so, what financial and legal preparations are required when a company, when an MSME is thinking about going for an IPO?
See, financial aspects is 3 things. You have to be positive on your profits in the last 3 years. The second one is your cash flow. Now, your cash flow should be positive, because that itself shows that whether you are in a negative cash flow or you are in a positive cash flow. On the compliance side, you need to, on the financials and compliance side, you need to have that ability to forecast your businesses. So what is that coming in 4 years, 5 years? Because stakeholders will look at you in a different perspective now. Because now you are an open book. So for everything to be disclosed to the general public, you have to have every system in place where it is done automatically.
So this is leading me to a question which is often been asked to a lot of companies that are entering into an IPO. What is the role of undertaking companies or undertaking underwriters basically when they are sort of influencing the entire process? Do they have that power? Do they not have that power? Can you elaborate a bit on their role?
See, like in main board also there are anchor investors. So why anchor investors are required in the entire process? Just to ensure that the issue is not been successfully uploaded or successfully. There are people who already believe in this company. And for them to be in space is very good move by the regulators that there are underwriters. And for them, the underwriters, there is a lock-in period. So to see that it will lead to an explosion of the price range or price making, it doesn't happen in this. Underwriters, just like merchant bankers, underwriters are one good, or anchor investors. We say other thing is anchor investors. So that if at all there is no subscription from the public or general public or something, there is someone who is backed up by the funds that it is a sale through for any IPO. But they don't manipulate or they don't do much, because they have whatever they invest, they have a lock-in period for, some say. So it is not that tomorrow I have an IPO in this October, I buy now and then I exit in. So no. So whatever is before your IPO, everything has a lock-in period. And then it becomes easy for investors to enter into the market. So that creates a liquidity. That creates a liquidity in a longer term, because there has to be some sellers and buyers also in the market.
So the main question now arises is, when is the right time to go public, and how can one assess that it's the right time for the company to go public?
See, I've been assisting a few companies for the last 4-5 years post lockdown actually. And when I meet them, my first criteria is, why do you need money? So once we make you, if you need, so there are only 3 criteria where the companies will need money. One is if they want to go for expansion. Second one is if they want working capital. And the third one, once they want to dilute and if you say create wealth for themselves. So offer for sale, that is where. So if you have this purpose, because in a longer run, equity is very costly. It is always better to go to bank first till the time you can explore your possibilities of getting funds from the bank, because bank funds are cheaper than equity. Equity को लगता है अपने को, but over a period of time it is very, very costly for somebody. So once we understand the objective of the promoters, like I'll share you one of an example. There's an existing company which is doing a turnover around 300 crores. It's an SME space. And due to government policies, they got one of the biggest opportunities to do a JV with one of the foreign companies. So they wanted to enter India, and they identified that these are the better partners for us. Then they arrived at one space where they said, "Ki we'll do a JV and we'll start with 100 crore investment." So what happened with this, with the client? He said, "Ki I don't have that much fund at present. Everything is in my whatever is asset, and I don't have." So when we set an asset that, so on a benchmark, or if you have thumb rule, his valuation was around 400-500 crores. So when we said if you can dilute your 10% from this, you'll get your 50 crores where the JV can happen, if at all you want to go. But you have funds within your companies which is undervalued. So once they realize, yes, this is the way, because there is no right time or wrong time in the market. It is when you need the fund and the purpose of the funds. So if the purpose of the funds is for expansion or scalability or doing something in your space only rather than going into a different space, then that's the right time, because there is huge demand for all. There is a lot of money in the market at present. So investors will come and see if the management is good and if the business is right, they'll invest. So there is nothing right and wrong time. It is, do you really need money and for what? If these 2 questions are done, yes, then you can always come into this.
What are some of the common challenges that a company faces during the IPO process, and how can they overcome them?
See, first, it's the cost. So, being an SME IPO, we don't invest in compliances, we don't invest in fundraising, not much. Because the banks don't charge anything, they come, they give money, and compliances are not much into that. So the basic challenge is the cost of raising these funds is first challenge. The second challenge is getting the systems in places. So you have to have every department in place. Like recently, I was speaking one of the promoters. So they do around 60-70 crores of turnover. And they are labor intensive. So labor intensive, they have a 70 staffs and 300 laborers where they do all this small thing. But it is a 60 crore company. So the first challenge then comes is, whether all of them come under your EPF or whatever it is. So then it becomes a challenge. Everything is monitored. So these small things, then for an IPO or for an owner or for an entrepreneur, it becomes very challengeable to set this system. So setting systems is second problem. The third one is hiring resources, hiring good human resource, because here you will need a team where we can take it to a next level. So the third challenge is hiring a bigger team and giving them a scope, because there you can always say ESOPs, you are there ESOPs for them, or they can really grow into that. So this is the third challenge that happens in all the SMEs. The fourth one is multi-location. Suppose now you are growing from one city to another city. Then it becomes a challenge for most of them. Is it good? Or we don't know anybody there. What is there we can do? So these are what I have seen over a period of time is these are the few challenges which are addressable. There are a lot of professionals which can come and help you do that, but it needs to change the mindset. The first step is changing the mindset to go into an IPO or stay as a bootstrap company.
Correct. And so how does the valuation process work for companies launching IPO, and what factors are most crucial?
See, as I told in my first or two questions only, your profitability matters first. And then there are SEBI-certified valuators in the market. So they do the valuation of the companies by 2 or 3 ways. One is discounted cash flows. So they'll see your discounted cash flows for the last 3 years and the next 5 years. And they'll arrive at one valuation of your company. The second is they do your peer comparison. If you have a peer which is listed, and if you have a competitor which is listed, then they check what is that, what is the PE, what is the EPS of that, and then they'll see. The other part is, if you have something like, if you go for pharma companies, the most valuation happens on the patents, US FDA approvals. So you will get X number of valuation immediately when there is an US FDA is approved or there is a patent applied or this thing. So the few things which matter a lot is your profitability, whether you are cash flow positive or whether you are burning money. So if you are burning money, your valuation will always be on the lower side. If you are positive and if you are EPS and if you are good onto that, then your valuation becomes in a better space. So 3 or 4 times, there are thumb rules which people look at any starting. Then there are discounted cash flows, then the peer competitions, then your credit ratings in the market. So what is your credit rating in the market when somebody is offering you funds, the bankers or the NBFCs? So these are the 3-4 things where we can judge what's the valuation, what is the valuation that is appropriate for this company before launching.
Can you also provide insights on the cost structure of launching an IPO in India?
See, like I said, the main board IPOs are very costly, which I am not aware of that, but there is huge cost. But for SME IPOs, the thumb rule which says that whatever funds you are raising, suppose you say you want to raise 50 crores. So 6 to 7% is the cost from start to the launch. This is one-time cost. After that, your compliance cost increases. So you have to have all the compliances, which is an ongoing, because your declarations are there every month. So it is around 6 to 7% of the funds that you are raising from an IPO. That's the basic cost that is been in the market as on today. Depends on how you negotiate with your merchant banker.
So here's an interesting question that we've received from one of our attendees. He wants to know, what are the marketing and investor relations strategies one should adopt to attract investors for an IPO?
See, they're not. You have to. Your visibility is important. So, if your visibility is important, it creates an credibility within the market space. Second, what is that? What is the product that? What is the problem that you are solving? Like if you see nowadays, everything what is getting valuation is like the green, everything in green. You go to solar or like power. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, there was double. It opened at double. So which space you are into? So where is the demand now coming from? Which space the demand is coming on? So if you identify all this, the investor is searching for good opportunities. And the best part is most of the investors first believe in the management. If they feel the management is good, they'll give whatever valuation they want. If you see now, there is a lot of examples if you see in the markets like Infosys, all your banks, or if the management is good and if they are living to what they say, the investor is like, yeah, whatever the valuation is, I'll invest into this. Because one IPO where we have suggested the valuation was around 90 to 100 rupees. The management was very clear why they are raising that funds. They are not exiting the market, but they want to expand the market across 3 countries. They wanted to raise only 48 crores. And it was really done in a better way. They got applications for 10,000 crores. So the relationship with the investors is what is that they are looking for.
This question leads me to my next question, sir, which is to do with corporate governance. How important is corporate governance for companies planning to enter IPO, and what practices should be implemented for this?
See, I'll only say one word: corporate governance is the top priority. It has to have your top priority. And since this becomes a very theoretical question, I'll only say as per the law, because we cannot go beyond the law. As per law, it is very, because I am a certified independent director also. So there, whatever we have been taught, what are the red flags that we have to see? What is that in the long term? What is there? But there is a difference for SME IPO and main board. Main board, it is very, very strict. Whereas SMEs, they are still building on, they are improving on whatever is not been done in the past. Because they want to give a bigger way. See, if you see the data, around 6 lakhs SMEs are there, registered MSMEs or SMEs, and only 600 are listed. So this space, and out of the 600, around 250 have migrated to the main board also after successfully doing their launchings. Why could they do this? Because of the corporate governance. So corporate governance has to be there. Is no other way I can explain you, because it is non-negotiable thing.
And what role do merchant bankers play in this entire process of seeking an IPO? And how should one select a merchant banker? What are the criteria?
See, it's about relationships. So merchant bankers are entities which are being registered by SEBI or registered with SEBI, who can only do IPOs. Others, they can be advisory, but they are the only things who have an authority to do an IPO, the merchant bankers. Now, how to select an one is, what is their past performance? So if they have a good past performance, that is the biggest thumb rule where most of them go for. If they have good, they know, and someone says 18-19 months, they know I'm now going for an IPO, they can always keep on exploring possibilities. and meeting people, seeing what is the difference, what is their need, what is the cost that is involved. So all these parameters will help them to identify merchant bankers, because some merchant bankers from SME IPO space are very, very good. They have created records in the markets. So you need to identify what is your need. If somebody can fulfill my need, yes, this is my challenge, this is what I want, and whoever can solve it, then you can have the next step with them. Since they are all registered with SEBI, it's not that they can go here and there and select anyone. So they have to have a merchant banker which is approved by SEBI.
So my next question to you is about potential risks involved in going public, and how can they be mitigated?
See, the potential risk is if you don't have a guidance. The biggest challenge that we have seen over the past few things is, can I give guidance for next 3 years or 5 years? Where is my company going to go? And if I'm giving them the guidance that every quarter we'll do X profit, and if they don't do that, then there's a challenge. Then the market starts losing focus. They are not able to give a guidance for the next 2-3 years. What about a quarter and a quarter? So the biggest thing. Second one, for everyone, there are 17 to 18 types of risk associated with any businesses, which some are beyond your control, some are within your control. So whatever is within the control, that's like economy. So if there is inflation risk hai abhi, inflation risk बढ़ गया, तो where is my market? If I'm targeting the market, there is a risk into this. So every risk, there is a geopolitical risk. So there is international, like we had pandemic, there was a risk, nobody knew about this. So these risks have a different aspects on whatever they do. So every 16 they have to point it down and see how I can mitigate it. What is the role that I can see that कि मैं इसको कैसा कम करूं मैं अभी? Because you cannot make any risk zero. There is nothing called a risk-free life or risk-free business or risk-free. Everything has to be seen that how can I reduce this? How can I diversify? So it's the entrepreneur skill to identify what is the segment they are in and where are they going and what are the risks they are going to come as they move along and what is the system they have put in to reduce that risk.
Now, sir, let's talk about a hypothetical scenario where, let's say, I am an MSME and I've gone public, I've already raised funds. Now, how can I, as an MSME, use that funds, utilize that for my growth and expansion?
See, it's not about post IPO that you will fund. Before IPO, you have to have a clear vision. Because all these funds goes to an escrow account. They don't go to a normal account. They go to an escrow account where, suppose now if you have seen the objective of raising this fund for an expansion, for a JV, building a plant or this. So the funds will have to be used for that purpose only. Now, if you say ki, you have XYZ working capital and you need more working capital so that you can have your fund flow more effectively, then the funds have to be used onto this. Then there are 15-16% where you can use only for general expenses. Now what happens most of the time, funds are raised for expansion. And sometimes the expansions have been postponed. Because suppose there are some things, it is not working, it will take some time. Because I think one company is having the same thing. Now they got approved after 2 years. But the funds are still there. They cannot use it for anything. So for an entrepreneur, we should have a 3-year or 5-year plan. Okay, if I'm getting this much money, where is that I'm going to put in for that and what is that going to generate? So मैं अगर इतना amount, if I'm putting it as a new plan, what is the cash flow that I'm going to generate? So it already has a roadmap before the IPO. Post IPO, you just have to implement it and complete the compliance. So if like every month you have to post what is that you have done with the funds to the SEBI, and it is all listed on the SEBI portal also. So suppose XYZ company has raised 50 crores. Now from this 8 crores are going to here, 10 crores are going. It is been open to all public. So your plan has to be before the IPO, and you are assured that you are going to get ये funds तो मुझे मिलने वाले. तो अगर ये मुझे मिलने वाले तो where am I going to and for what? So ये automatically वो question ये हो जाता है. And then once you start implementing that, the investors will start gaining confidence.
Now, sir, let's say post IPO, in terms of an MSME, let's say if I'm an MSME and I've gone IPO already, what is the obligation on me in terms of reporting and disclosures?
If you are not ready with all this disclosures, then don't go for an IPO, because they are must. Every disclosure. If we have a meeting with the possible investor also, you have to disclose it to the SEBI or the exchange. Disclosures, see, that is where the SMEs are afraid of. क्योंकि अभी तक तो मेरा बिजनेस किसी को बताने का कोई, it is not, and मुझे किसी, I'm no one to answer this. But when you are in this space, you have to answer everything. So ये mindset change करना is very, very important. So that's what I first said. It's from a fixed mindset. Now you have to move to a growth mindset. It's very difficult, but you have to do it. Everything has to be disclosed. नहीं तो क्या होगा ना कि what are they doing, where are they going? Everything is watched. There are people who watch and then they report to SEBI also. So you have to be prepared with whatever there is to disclose, whatever is happening with the companies. तो पोस्ट आईपीओ का ये बड़ा चैलेंज है सबके साथ.
Sir, can you share some of the case studies or success stories with our attendees of companies that have gone IPO and they've really benefited from that?
Yes, I'll share a few stories. I'll not name the companies. One company, in fact, they were not ready to come into the market only. And they had a challenge. They had a challenge of cash flow because they wanted to expand like anything, because they were seeing there is a lot of scope. So we had 1 or 2 meetings and then general discussions. It was just general discussions. And then we said, ki, if you have to raise private funds, if not, then he didn't want to go to the banker because banker was already exhausted. Banking limits, multiple banking limits, सब exhaust हो चुका था. So where do they go? We did a brainstorming session. कि क्या करना चाहिए क्या नहीं. And then said कि अरे I don't have this much funds to launch the IPO also, because entire cash flow, because I have 3 countries to open up, but I don't have that much cash. So then we said, why don't you do private placement before listing? So private placement we did at 95 rupees per share. Because
sorry,
that
so
was
what is private placement?
Before the IPO, private placement. Before the IPO, the company needs funds to raise funds from the IPO.
Okay.
4-5% का जो cost है ना, from where they'll get? They can get from private placement. So private placement हमने help किया, and then we gave them to one of the best merchant bankers. They wanted to raise 48 crores because they had a complete plan for the next 5 years. कि ये 48 crores मुझे क्या कहाँ लगाने, expansion का होगा, working capital का होगा. And they were doing 200 crores turnover. टर्नओवर का चल रहा था अभी. Post IPO, I already told you in the last week, 48 crores, they got application for 10,000 crores. But they cannot use that 48 crores ही मिले, बाकी तो block ही रहते अपने account में. But in 9 months, they have used it effectively and they have grown from 200 crores they have at 315 crores over the last month. The entire last month, it was 315 crores. So they have grown like 50% post IPO. And the market capitalization today is around 800 crores. So this is one example, and there are a few I can explain. But now he's so confident. Yaar, I've lost my 4-5 years. मैंने अगर ये पहले कर देता तो I would have grown in a number, because now see, for them it becomes now easy.
Sir, as an investor, how can my expectation differ from smaller companies as opposed to the larger ones?
See, one is we have to fix our expectations. क्योंकि market अगर बोला जाएगा ना, everyone has higher expectations. सबको लगता है कि 20-25% मुझे मिलना ही चाहिए for anyone. But 12-15% is a good rate of return if you see your inflation and your GDP growth. So 12-15% you should be happy. लेकिन there are a lot of stories कि मल्टी-बैगर हो गया, ये हो गया, so automatically अपने expectations बढ़ता है. So that is why what SEBI has done, they have completely given 2 parts. In main board, the one lot of shares would be around 16 to 17,000. Whereas SME में वो 1 लाख के ऊपर है. So बोलते कि retail investors का participation they want lesser. If somebody cannot take a risk, they should not enter in this market. Whereas main board में 15-16 हजार में you can apply for 1 lot, but here you should apply in lots of 1 lakh only. And दूसरा problem with IPO, SMEs IPO, liquidity is also there. So when you want to sell, if there is no buyer, then there is a challenge. But there are market makers who can help you to do that. So to get something from the market, अपने expectations कम रखो. You will always get better than expectations, but अपने expectations अगर 15-16% मिले, because for the last 30 years the market has given 16%. So कहीं ना कहीं कौन ना कौन देने वाला है. But अगर if you say कि नहीं मुझे 25-30% चाहिए, तो फिर that is not what we tell our clients also कि expectations कम रखो, market आपको देगा ही देगा. At the end of the day, market will always reward the patience. जो patience रखा है उसको पैसा ही मिला है. For the last 20 years I have seen all the ups and downs, 2008, 2020, how people, and we do a lot of retail. So retail लोग आते then जाते, but whoever stayed there have benefited a lot.
And so my last question to you is, what advice would you give to companies who are contemplating into getting into an IPO, unsure about its benefits and processes?
See, you should, the first step is start meeting people. Start meeting people who have already done the IPO. Because उनका network तो वैसा ही होगा. So go in a network where they have already known care, so they have to learn, because it's a hard-earned money. उन्होंने खुद ने इतने सालों से बनाया हुआ है, and they cannot let it go. So what the first step is, meet number of people. See the pros and cons, write it down, whether is it the way to go, or I'm okay with bootstrap, I don't want to move ahead. So वो clarity आनी चाहिए. And second, if your purpose is bigger than everything, and and if the funds are stopping you from growing, then I would suggest you should explore this possibility. And before exploring these possibilities, do the do's and don'ts कि क्या करना चाहिए कैसे. It may take another 2-3 years. Don't worry, because the market is going to be there for last 200-300 years. मार्केट कहीं जाने नहीं वाला इधर से. So आज नहीं किया तो कल नहीं होगा, परसों नहीं. So it may take 2-3 years, but at least you will be satisfied कि मेरा purpose क्या था, why do I need funds, what is stopping me from growing, what is the opportunity that I am getting, क्योंकि opportunities के लिए पैसा ही लगता है. If at all and if they don't have, what is the possibility that I can liquidate some part and then move on to. So if somebody is, अगर आप कोई सोच रहा है ना जाने के लिए ना, पहले 1 साल सिर्फ स्टडी करो. जैसा दूसरा बिजनेस है ना, वैसा ये स्टडी करो कि यस जाना है तो मिलो लोगों से. There are lot many people who have done it successfully, and I know 3-4 companies, they have now listed their sister companies also. So they have created wealth to all the stakeholders. So 3 companies they have listed on the SME itself. Why? Because they knew that this is now they have used to this. So एक बार वो आदत लग जाती है ना. So if somebody is looking into that, explore the possibility 1 year, go meet people, meet because NSE, BSC, SEBI, they are doing lot seminars to guide or make awareness with the entrepreneurs. What should be done, what not should be done, what is that they have done till now. So ये attend करना चाहिए. So you should start attending all these things.
So with this, we've come towards the end of our episode today. Thank you so much for guiding our attendees on such an important, critical topic of going IPO. You've explained the benefits, challenges, rules, regulations, everything. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
So thank you for giving me this an opportunity. And because I usually go to a lot of places, I meet 10-15 people, and then we start discussing only. It's all about Q&A. And this has helped me to grow as a person also. Help me.
Thank you,
so
sir.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Means a lot. For our attendees, if you would like to watch any part of this episode that you have missed, or if you would want to see any of our previously shot episodes, log on to GSW1 MSME on YouTube, and you will find all the episodes uploaded there. Thank you once again, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.